welcome to My Voices Have Tourette's, and that's why I'm borderline Linda. My name is Dan Zarin. Let's get started here. So today's episode is brought to you by Gamesla Studio, where we are recording, The Secret Cellar, Iceland's first and only comedy club, and Smouty's Volcano Sauces, the greatest hot sauce I've ever had in my entire life. Every time I get closer and closer to doing that without squeaking, still squeak. But anyway, I am joined here by two of my very dear friends. One of them is my co-host, Stefnir Benedictson.
Hey, how you doing?
How are you?
I'm okay. Yeah. Going a little stir crazy over this COVID thing, but other than that, I'm pretty good.
The COVID thing is also pretty bad. I mean,
yeah, I know.
COVID's been quite bad, but COVID, I mean, that's just even worse.
COVID's the worst.
Well, it's good to have you here. It's also good to not have Thorotler in yet another goddamn episode. But anyway, let's get to our guest. So our guest today is a comedian, a very one of the best comedians I've seen. He is Scottish, but we don't hold that against him.
No.
He's been to Iceland many times. He's performed here. He's been a regular at the Secret Cellar whenever he's in town. And let's hear from him, Andrew Sim.
Hello. It's so good to see both of you. It's so lovely, and to be recorded at the right time, and to be able to actually speak and be heard, and not just talked over by Dan. It's great. It's wonderful.
Well, you know what? I guess for the listeners, we had a bit of a malfunction here that may or may not have been the computer's fault with not pushing the record button.
It was Dan's fault.
It was my fault. It was entirely my fault.
Human error.
But it's good to have you. You are not currently in Scotland. You are in England.
No, how do you know that? How the fuck do you know that? I am not in Scotland. I am among the enemy. I'm in England, the England, and it's lovely. It's
why among the enemy? What's wrong with England?
Oh God, they're not dealing with COVID very well, and I haven't really left the house for about 4 months. So we can talk about that later on in the show. Yeah. So.
Well, I have noticed that your hair is significantly longer than it was the last time I saw you.
It's the longest it's been in my life. This is it's properly nice as well. It's got like curls. It droops down. I can do this. I can actually put a man bun together. I don't do that, but I am able to do it, which is amazing. I'm saying this to two very long-haired men.
Well, actually, because Stefnir, you might be able to relate to this. How long? Well, like, did you get like a point where it got long enough that it's like it almost starts doing stuff that you don't like?
Oh yeah, I have a million things. Yeah, absolutely. I was constantly going, "This looks terrible," and then people kept going, "No, keep going, because don't have the Hitler haircut that you used to have. Like, change it, please." So yeah.
There are points when you're growing your hair out where it goes. It start hitting your eyes all the time, and then it goes for the nose, and then it's in your mouth all the time.
How it is. I like that.
Well, you definitely have the beard issue, where the mustache hairs get in the mouth.
I tried to grow a beard. I tried. I miserably.
You actively tried.
Yeah.
Was this like the book The Secret? Wow, where you had to want it so bad.
Oh yeah.
And then it would just start growing.
I had to do like weird rituals. I put oils on my face. Nothing happened. I just got a really creepy mustache and some patchy bits. Oh, it was horrible. Yeah.
I've noticed though, like with my hair, because my hair it gets curly. So so I have like when it gets to the length that he has, where it's like down to about his chin, like mine starts getting like it starts going out. Well, but just the bottom. So I start looking like Little Debbie from the snacks.
Oh, yeah.
You guys know that one?
Yeah.
Or so basically just like where the bottom it goes down and then it goes out a little bit.
Isn't that like Popeye's girlfriend?
No, that's olive oil.
Right. Doesn't she have that hair?
Yes, well, it goes back.
Right, it goes back.
Yeah, it has the wave back.
Right.
This is very, very good stuff. We should keep talking about this. But no, I noticed because then once it gets a little bit past that, it just goes down.
Yeah.
And now I'm at the point where it goes pretty long. But I'm at the point where I need to get a haircut just because the problem is, I've started balding a little bit. So it's if I don't take care of my hair now, it will literally all fall out is what I'm being told.
Son of a bitch. Cause I've been noticing with myself that in the drain, I noticed that, I'm losing some of this and I'm getting a little worried.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Andrew's over here going, I just love the long hair. You will learn.
I to be perfectly honest, my hair does have a hairline that goes quite far back. So it's not going to last forever like my dad's hair. It's I got my mother's dad's hair, which he went bald very young. So we'll see how well that goes. That'll be fun. That'll be fun.
Yeah, I've got there's a bet going in my family because I've had my hair this long for longer than anyone in our family ever. So my parents just every once in a while they're just yeah, we'll see how long that lasts, and then it just keeps lasting, and they're just it won't last forever, and I'm like, guys, shut up, it has been. Just let me have this one, okay?
You're gonna jinx it.
I'm gonna jinx it, but all right. Well, how have you been? How have you been coping with the COVID, though? Because, being in England, how has it been in England?
England's kind of weird because essentially the reason it's bad is because essentially English people don't go along with the rules. So essentially, that's why I haven't been out at all, because I don't want to get it from some idiot who is not really caring about it. In Scotland, weirdly enough, they're way more on it about going with the restrictions. At one point I was in the countryside with my family, and they were we're just gonna go to the pub, but I was like, the pubs are closed. And it's no, people have opened pubs in their houses and essentially have put out social distancing, and it's and you just you bring your own booze, obviously.
Obviously.
But Derek's always got some booze, so you can take some of it. I don't want to touch Derek. You don't touch Derek, don't worry. He washes his hands every 3 hours. It's all right. Do not worry. But in England, it's only now that they've started saying that people who are traveling into England have to self-isolate. Only now.
Really?
Not 6 months ago. Now. And so essentially, everything that's happened so far, and they're doing it now when we're coming out of winter, where it's there's no logic to this, and so it's very strange being here, essentially, because it makes no sense. Makes no sense.
I just love the fact that it's just all right, guys, we finally have the vaccines coming. Now everyone should start self isolating. That's the time. Now's the time of all the times. Now we can actually cure the fucker, but stay home because once everyone's cured, we've gotten tired of being around people. So
yeah. I've also noticed that as soon as people started hearing about a vaccine, they got looser in their restrictions. They sort of they started ignoring the rules and be all over the place. And we're talking about how masks didn't work and all of that crap. That started coming out as soon as the vaccine was around. And I feel that, just if you hold on a little longer till everybody's vaccinated, we'll be all right.
No, but that's logical. That's using your brain and actually caring about people. It's so many people are actually just, they're kind of but why do we have to keep, caring about people? I don't like people. I want to go out and have a drink. It's fuck's sake, Derek, stay indoors. Oh,
it's always Derek. It's always Derek or Steve.
It's always fucking Derek, man.
But moving on to the next topic, though, because it kind of, I'm going to relate it a little bit, but you actually have a character that has become a bit known here in Iceland, and I would love to see this character passing out the vaccines. And that is Linda.
Yeah. It's funny because I kind of want it to be if Linda will come back performing, and when she comes out, I'll just start I think she'll probably start coming out and just like, I'm your grandmother from the COVID. And it'll be just, but the problem is like those kinds of any COVID jokes, I think will not land with any, it will just be a thud and the crowd will go silent because there'll be too many people who've lost people. And it's a kind of, for me, that's why I stopped making videos. I stopped doing anything because I was just like, there's actually nothing. I don't want to profit off this time. I don't want to actually build up an audience. I just want to take some time for myself and then choose what I really want to do when it all gets back to a bit of a normality, essentially. Because some people are doing really well right now, off of like profiting off of talking about COVID and all that kind of stuff. And I'm kind of like, okay, that's grand if you're a journalist and stuff, but it's good to take your time in this time. Yeah, it might be shit, but it's always nice to just take a bit of time, breathe, so not over each other, but breathe. And
wait, so let me get this straight. So for the listeners who don't know, Linda is basically, well, like, I mean, to say she's on PC would be a bit of understatement. The person who created Linda is saying that COVID is too soon.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, but it's not about too soon. It's the fact that it's kind of like if you were in a world war and you were making jokes about, hey, see what's happening? All those people dying. Isn't that funny? It's like, it's so comedy.
I hear you.
Comedy doesn't fit right. Podcasts and talking about stuff and being open about it, that works. Comedy or trying to, like, I was coming up with Linda sort of like videos and stuff, and I was just like, this feels wrong. Because people are really suffering right now. Obviously in Iceland everyone's fucking fine, but it's just this kind of being, especially here in England, where it's quite scary how many people are losing their lives. It's like you're having to deal with it. Mental health wise, it's mental. It's really, really strange.
Yeah. I heard somewhere that you guys are even worse per capita than the States, which is it's a scary fact right there.
Yeah. It's mostly, to be perfectly honest, I've seen a pattern of a lot of the countries that are saying they have a variant of the COVID thing. Essentially, are countries that have not put in plans to actually deal with COVID and have allowed it to spread no matter what, no matter the variant, essentially. Right. You've got Brazil, you've got America, you've got the UK. All three countries have essentially done the whole herd immunity concept, which is, they went, fuck vulnerable people. And, and essentially they all have the variants, and it's because they've just done nothing to actually stop it. Being part of one of those countries, it's shameful and it's fucking horrendous. And it's kind of why when this is all over, I'm definitely not going to be living in this country anymore. So it's because I need to get out. It's not nice being around people that don't think about the little guy. They only think about themselves. It's pretty horrendous.
Right. Well, you've been talking for a while about wanting to move, to the rock that we live on.
Yes, absolutely. I'm still looking forward to that. Whatever is left when I get there. But no,
you're gonna get here. Everything's just gonna be shut down.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you'll be like, no, we'll wait another couple of years. We just want to make sure. No, I just want to get out, and like I've got plans of sort of going to different places if I'm able to. But I've got to make money first, so that'll be fun.
Right. Right. And now we did start to talk about Linda.
Yes.
You have several characters, but Linda's kind of been like the one that you seem to have focused on the most. Can you explain a little bit about who Linda is and how you came up with her in the first place?
So Linda is actually very much linked with my voices have Tourette's and the way the show is and what the show talks about. Because Linda comes from a very horrendous point in my life where I was suicidal, feeling very much vilified by different people. Some of it was completely understandable, and I sort of have to take responsibility for who I was and my actions. But there was a lot of it that it was a pile-on, essentially, of basically character assassination, which was not true, and I knew it wasn't true. But if you're in a position where you're getting told that you're an asshole, if you turn around and start shouting, "I'm not an asshole," you look like an asshole. So it was when I realized I just had to be quiet. I took myself out of friendship groups. I completely changed how I did comedy. I then started doing a clown course because I'd always wanted to do a clown course because it pushes you as a performer more than any other course that you can do. And essentially, while I was doing the clown course, I came up with this character, which was meant to be a monster compere, essentially an MC, the host of the night, but like a monster, a creature, right. A demon. And that's where Linda came from. It was meant to be a monster. But then I went, This is me. I'm not a manly man. It doesn't come across as convincing, but I can very much play a feminine figure, and I felt more comfortable with it. But it needed to be a figure that was demonic. It needed to be something, because Linda essentially it's not me, but it is me who has no kind of limitations of caring about what other people think, essentially. You said earlier about it's not PC, and yeah, I guess so, but Linda always has a reason to say something. It's not for no reason. It's not just for shock value. It's to actually make people think. What I found was that when I was doing comedy, people just didn't know who I was. Just didn't know, in any context, off stage, on stage, they just didn't understand me. I was getting very strange advice from people. And then I did Linda, and all the people that were giving me advice, like shit advice, they kind of veered away from me because they're like, what's wrong with this guy? Which was great. And all the people that I had always admired turned around and went, that's fucking brilliant. That's really good. That's more who you are as a person, even though you're not yourself. So I was kind of proud of that. It can be difficult when an audience member turns on you, just does not enjoy what you're talking about, and that's really difficult. But the whole point of Linda is that you kind of have to offend a little bit, but you have to get them back. If you don't get them back, you've lost them entirely, and there's no point of doing it or carrying on. There was a show at the Fringe that I did with Linda. I got 20 minutes into the show, and then I turned around to the audience and was like, I think we're gonna do it. I think we'll just stop. And I still in that character because I couldn't stop the character. I needed to still be Linda just to get through the next 5 minutes of explaining I don't want to continue. And it was 15 people. They were all lovely people, and they were horrified. I had been hungover that day, and I just had hit the rhythm wrong, and essentially they were just like, this is just disgusting, this is horrendous. But then the next day I had a full crowd that loved it. So you're always learning with a character like that, and one of the most important things is not listen and find a reason why you're doing this character. So but that's where it came from. It came from being vilified and wanting to, Linda tells the truth, and that's what I always wanted to do. So yeah.
Well, and then it's a good comment about staying in character, because that's the tricky thing. I tried doing a character once on stage. And I remember halfway through it, I was just like, this is just not working at all. But you can't break character, because that's the whole point of doing a character, is that the entire thing is not you. So and it is also it's a very interesting point though about the fact that like you can say things that you don't feel that you can say.
Yes.
It is one of those things like I remember I was talking to someone like a year ago about Jeff Dunham getting a lot of crap for the stuff that his puppets have said. And like people are just like, oh, you know, just because the puppet says it doesn't mean that it doesn't come from his brain. And it's just like, yeah, but you're also kind of missing the point. Yeah. You know, it's like, someone thought of this stuff, but at the same time, you know, you have to think about who the character is, why they're saying it, why, you know,
and there's much better reasons to hate Jeff Dunham as well. So
fair enough.
Sorry,
but I was gonna say, you know, I think it's interesting with characters though. You can't give up. You just have to. You have to fight to the end, you know?
Yeah, but it's hard, though. I forget which comedian said it, but if you wear a funny hat on stage and you make one joke about it and you don't follow through on it, now you're just wearing a stupid hat. Yeah. You know what I mean? So you really have to, I mean, you have to be well-grounded in the character and you have to have given it a lot of thought. You have to have written it, pretty precisely. And, you know, as soon as you lose a bit of that thread, people will turn on you.
Well, of course. And this is the thing with Linda. Obviously, I have certain bits that are very precise and written very specifically. Well, the beauty of Linda is I actually improv a lot of it because of the fact that I play with the crowd as they are. If you are playing with the truths of the room and of the world, because when you're playing truths of the world, when you're going, well, you know, people think this and people think that, people actually have to come out of the room and put their brain into the world. But if you're just playing with, well, why is that guy wearing that jacket? What is the relationship between these two people? Then you get this, like the audience has this euphoria because they're like, like this moment only happens now. It doesn't happen down the line. It doesn't, you know. I mean, they don't know that there's certain tricks of the trick tools that you can like replicate.
Of course,
they feel like they're in that moment, and it's lovely. Yeah,
yeah. And I also love that none of your characters are ever from the same place.
No,
they're always from different countries.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, you know, yeah.
How many characters do you have at this point?
I would say so. I have Linda. Then there's Ivan, and Ivan is the sort of techno-loving Chechen who is trying to bring virtuality to the whole world, but he's not gay. He's not gay. He's not on the run from his country. Again, it's got a dark thought, but I like playing with it, especially with an audience that either didn't know about it and actually got to teach them a little bit about that. But there's Ivan, there's Linda. I think I have others. I haven't been doing characters in a while.
Right.
But it's I have this Swan Lake type character. I come out dressed in a swimmer's outfit with a seal leggings, so like they're connected, and then I dance and jump to Swan Lake while an audience member splashes water in my face. As proper wanky pretentious clown, and it's fucking hilarious because it's just mental, and like an audience member that really gets into it really starts splashing that looked rude. The splashing the water on you, it's just great. But bringing an audience into it, I think with characters especially, but you need to have pure energy that comes into it. You're not really, if you're a character, you don't want to play it like a comedian. Comedian's subtle. It's, slow burn. It's trying to build a relationship with an audience. A character's more like a pro wrestler. As soon as they enter, you have to feel something from them. But that's how I played Linda. I come in and going like, how would the Undertaker start this show? And you start with mystery. You start with this building of rapport between you and the audience, because the stuff can come later, but they have to connect with the character, because if they don't, it's going to be a long 10 to 15 minutes, my friend, and that has happened many times with Linda.
Well, one thing I love about your comedy, and this is something that we try to do with voices as well, and I think it's very important, is the vulnerability. No, I think like not just with your characters, but also your comedy in general. Well, like I mean, one of the things that you talk a lot about is being open about being bisexual.
Yeah.
And like the way that you go about it's so unique, because you're just basically like putting yourself out there, just saying, this is just a fact about me, and and you go through silly stories or silly things about being bisexual, and then you have the characters, and all the characters have a vulnerable side to it. I mean, like you were talking about, an audience member spraying you with water. You have to be a bit vulnerable to even let them do that in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. And I think but vulnerability and that sort of little gap between you as the performer and the audience, that vulnerability is what endears you to the audience. It allows the audience to get on board with you, because if you're a comedian, so there's a lot of comedians now that are they're straight talking, they're brash, they come out, they tell it like it is, and but the problem is, if you truly look at the best ones, if you look at Bill Burr, he's not coming out and just going, tell it like it is. He might do that from time to time because he's got a bolstered ego from a lot of people. However, he also shows massive vulnerability. He in his latest special, he was in Iceland just before he filmed it in London, and he talked about like his anger problems really in depth. He didn't talk about it as like, well, I'm angry, so fuck everyone and fuck women. He turned around and went, I have a daughter. I don't want to be angry with her. She hasn't met me yet. And he talks about how his daughter has seen him lose it with anger, but he's had to cover. And he doesn't want that anymore. He doesn't want to cover that anymore. He wants to actually be a father that is not losing his shit and seeing everyone, was what his father did. Kind of conversation just wouldn't happen if he wasn't as good as he is at what he does,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you also, you have to, the thing is, like, the problem with a lot of the comedians that have that mindset today is that it's like when a starting comedian tries to do the shock factor. Like the shock value joke in every joke that they do, and they don't realize you have to be fucking spot on with what you're doing, or you're just going to come off as the biggest asshole of the night. And that's a huge problem. No, we've seen it with so many comedians. There are even big comedians that try it too often, and then those are the ones that everyone they just get so much hate for it.
There has to be, as you say, this certain level of vulnerability to it. And it also has to be the shock value. You have to it has to be a thinker. It has to get people to think and be a perspective that's maybe not new or
exactly.
Like a new perspective on things that people haven't been able to reach. Smart. You can't just be shock factor and not smart. You have to be really smart about it.
Yeah, it's also like that big conversation that comes up every once in a while with comedians where they're like, is the PC culture ruining comedy? And it's like, first of all, no, not in the slightest.
No.
If anything, in my opinion, PC culture is making comedians, it's forcing them to think about what they're saying.
Yeah.
Because with comedy, it's like if you take a really, really sensitive subject and a comedian is just like, oh, I'm going to talk about that on stage. Well, why are you going to talk about that on stage? I'm going to talk about it because I can. Okay, fine. There's a lot of topics that we talk about simply because we can. I do a lot of Tourette jokes. I wouldn't do that if I didn't have Tourette syndrome. But the thing is, like, first of all, which side are you taking? And it's like, well, what do you mean? What side am I taking? Well, it's like, okay, if you're talking about a sensitive topic where there's an attacker and a victim, are you taking the victim side or the attacker side? Because if you take the attacker side, it does not matter what your joke is.
No.
Yeah.
You're just going to come off as a dick. But if you take the victim side, then it's all about the wording and how you do it. And it doesn't matter. And at that point, it doesn't matter about PC or not. It matters that your joke is actually good.
Yeah. Yeah. I think one of the biggest things that the Linda ethos, but it's the same as, so Linda comes from a dark clown, which is called Buffon. Now, Buffon is essentially, with a clown, you laugh at the clown. The clown is the idiot. They are, if you want to think about like who's the most vulnerable in the room, it's the clown. But with Dark Clown and Buffon, the audience are the ones who need to be laughed at. And it's not to laugh at individuals; it's to laugh at the whole audience. They are not specific people; they are society and audience. So that's kind of closer to where you're talking about Borat, Sacha Baron Cohen, all that kind of stuff. He is a Buffon essentially because he doesn't want to laugh at vulnerable people. He takes vulnerable people as his characters, but then what he does is he makes them far smarter in the moment than the people he's opposite, especially when he's opposite Americans who have start saying stuff that is unbelievably and then doing so, that art form, he's showing the true perpetrators, the true attackers. So it's trying to sort of shift it completely. You're not even talking about the victim and the attacker, you're talking about everyone's role in it. So it's right. It's a big thing, and sometimes Saturday night audiences don't want to do that. So you've got to know when you want to pull that out of the bag and when you don't. Yeah,
that's my favorite type of comedy, though, where comedy is a mirror to society.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, and that's something. I mean, that's something that's been around. I mean, it kind of leads to the question of like, wow, why do we need comedy? No, why do why do comedians do what they do? And a lot of it is, a lot of us got into comedy just simply because we wanted to make people laugh. It sounds corny, it sounds cheesy, but I mean, it's true. A lot of us got in for that point, but then there are other comedians that just like what they love doing is making people think about things. Like they're not necessarily trying to offend. They're just trying to get people to understand that to every situation in life, there are faults. And to every situation in life, there are people that like, holy shit, their reactions to those things. Why are they still reacting that way? And they're talking about that. They're getting people to realize that there are things that just simply don't get talked about.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I want to quote, I think it was Mr. Rogers who said, if it's mentionable, it's manageable.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's such a lovely quote.
But I feel that if we can laugh about it, we can talk about it, and that way we can sort of, figure out ways to live with it.
Mm-also
Well, like you've said a lot of times, if you're laughing about it, you're not crying about it.
That's true.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be, I also don't want to take it to the perspective of, Pollyanna, or, you're sort of deluding yourself or living in denial about the whole thing while you're laughing at it. It's just that it's easier to deal with if you can find a comic aspect to it, but you still have to deal with it though.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just bottle it down.
No.
Like Andrew does with his characers.
Pretty much. Yeah. Pretty much. Bottle it down, repress it, not deal with it. Don't talk to the people that hurt me, whatever.
But I do want to move on here now to because you are you're going to be doing a few shows for the Fringe festivals this year.
Yes, I will be. Yes, yeah.
So you are doing Linda's Freak Show again?
Yes, I'll be doing Linda's Freak Show just the same as I did last year, which is just I'll get more people from Iceland doing it. I think at the time you guys were extremely busy, but what we'll do is there'll be more time to deal with it because we know what's happening. Because I think back, last year we were all like, is it going to be live? Am I able to make it to Iceland? But now it's like, no, I'm not coming. I'm going to hopefully what the plan is to make it like the video. Obviously, they're not doing a live stream this year, but make a video of it and then actually screen it somewhere, and people can just watch it. Most likely, it'll be the Secret Cellar or somewhere else that may help me. Who knows? But yeah, so Linda Freak Show, just the same, just with loads of people from all around the world sending in videos, doing weird stuff, mostly dark stuff. And then doing another serious piece, which is going to be called How to Reappear Completely. And that's going to be about how to come out of lockdown and COVID and actually move on with your life. So that's going to be the two shows I'm going to do. Yeah.
Now, when you say it's more of a serious piece, what do you mean by that?
So it's going to be more theatrical, more pretentious. It's going to have monologues and music, and it's going to have a whole combination of things. It still will have comedy at its kind of core of it, because I don't think I could make a whole serious piece without making a joke here and there and making fun of myself, because I just feel like people switch off after about 5 minutes. So you've got to find a sort of biting point. Like the best pieces of theatre I've ever seen have made me laugh, as well as feel things, as well as like really be encapsulated by the character or the performer that is doing it. So I'm trying to, like, it's what I'm trained in. It's what my fucking degree was. So I might as well do something while I've got this time, and I've got a better camera so I can actually film it, record it, like at a level that I'm happy with. And then I'm just going to screen it in Iceland. I will decide later if I want to put it online. But I just want people to see it and get their feedback. And Iceland is just the best place to do that, because everyone's fair. Yeah. They're just fair. They never turn around and go, well, I liked it, but it's always like, no, I liked it, or yeah, you should do something else. It's just either or, and that's kind of why I've been wanting to move over there and just perform there, create things. I'm wanting to create a lot of short films as well, so I've got a camera. I've got a camera for that, and I'm wanting to do all that. I'm just going to be a massive explosion of creativity as soon as I get out of this room.
Stefnir, have you noticed that he gets more and more bitter every time he mentions his degree?
Yeah, I've noticed that.
Like it started off when I first saw you performing in Iceland. Yeah. You would be like, I mean, I did get an acting degree and all that stuff.
Well, I got a first. I got a first. Yeah. Thank you very much. I was the only one in my class. They did not like me after that.
But then it gets to this, and he's talking about it. He just has so much anger in his.
I wish I had trained in something technical, which is actually what I'm doing. I'm retraining in programming and game design and stuff like that. But the reason for that is because I'm basically just like, I need a job. I don't have a job, and
right.
Like this is probably the biggest growing market right now is games. So, and it's also something I love. So and I've started sort of contributing to certain games just in like forums and stuff, and they've actually been taking my advice, and I've been like, all right, okay, maybe I can actually do this. So, but I need to actually train and proper walk into an interview. It's like, no, I don't know anything, but I've got some great. So I've got to sort of that will hopefully keep me like above board, and then the creative stuff is just gonna sideline for now while the world heals, I would say. So yeah. And amen.
I like when you messaged me that you were thinking about getting it, or you started getting into game design.
Yeah.
And, like my mind goes like straight. Like the first thought I had was, what got him into that? And then instantly it's like I cut myself off and go, no, I know the guy. He's just bored.
Yeah, pretty much. It's also because I've played games for so long, and I've I should grow up and stop doing this. I need to stop. And then I went, oh no, this is a whole career. Oh fuck it, no, keep going.
What kind of gaming are you thinking of designing?
I'm into proper I'm not into Call of Duty and stuff. I played that very long time ago. No, I'm into strategies, grand strategy. You know, I'm playing a gangster game called Empire of Sin right now.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, I was a virgin for a long time. It was good. It was good.
So it's a platform to release your megalomania, huh?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Pretty much. Oh yeah, gangster. Yeah, Jesus, I get to run my own empire. Oh yeah, Jesus. Yeah, it's great fun.
I was really hoping when he was like, I'm not talking about something like Call of Duty. I'm talking something proper. I really thought he was going to go proper, like Candy Crush.
Yeah, no. I was saying proper because I've always been put down for the games I choose. They're just like, why don't you play like normal games? It's like, because I'm not a sheep. I'm not part of the sheeple. Yeah. It's always got that frosty silence. It's always good.
What I like about mobile games is not the fact that like it's like you get a game for a specific point. Ooh, like some people get like I used to play the idle games all the time, and I still play them every once in a while, just because I like mindless games that you can just like play for a few minutes and then go about your day, just like something that takes the edge off or whatever. But my girlfriend,
you could also masturbate.
Well, I could, yes.
Well, you do it at the same time, my friend. That's the best way.
But my girlfriend Alex has gotten me into we've been doing the they're puzzle games. They're like escape room stuff, but it's basically like you solve a mystery by finding clues and solving puzzles and stuff like that. And I started getting into them because I have a pretty decently bad memory problem. So I thought, well, hey, if I get my brain activated, maybe I could work on healing some of the stuff. No. The only thing that's happened is I've gotten so frustrated by the puzzles I can't solve that my frustration and anger comes back out, which I dealt with years ago. But nope, it's back. And then I get to the point where I literally just go, you know what? Fuck this puzzle. I don't even like this type of puzzle. And I go online and I'm like, how the fuck do I do this puzzle? And then I just solve it. And I'm like, I mean, I could have solved that.
Yeah. Puzzles in escape. Like I used to work in escape room.
Really?
And I worked in a Harry Potter escape room. And I don't know how much you've hated yourself in times go by, but when you're sitting listening to children going Expelliarmus, and you're like, I want to die, It's just. But the thing I found out was that the people who got really angry and frustrated with the puzzle were always so close to solving it that they just needed to calm their shit and just look at it a little closer. And it's the people that walk in and they work together as a team, like a Canadian family with like love and they care for one another. They actually make me more sick to my stomach than the people who get pissed off and shout at each other. It's like, fucking, this is just like you, Doreen. And then it's like, why did we fucking arrange this staff night out? This is bullshit. It's like you're just like the amount of things. There. Oh man, the amount of things I fucking saw in that room. It was weird, very strange. But yeah,
I've done an escape room once, and I was the guy yelling.
Well, to be fair, and we talked about this in early episodes of the podcast. We did an escape room in Sweden we did My Voices of Tourette's. We performed there, and then to celebrate at the end, we got the great idea to do an escape room. And it's
great idea.
Yeah, because first of all, I mean, you've got two people with Tourette syndrome. It's like, all right, well, that doesn't affect intelligence, so maybe they're smart. Turns out we're not. But then you had Hannah, who has schizophrenia, but with her, she was pretty much fine.
Yeah.
But then we had you, who not only are you autistic with bipolar disorder, you were in the middle of a manic episode.
It was wonderful. It was wonderful.
It was wonderful for you. It was not wonderful for the rest of us. It was, see, it wouldn't have been so bad. I mean, because the thing though that was actually very, very fun about how you were doing it was the fact that you were so into like solving the puzzles that like you started picking up on things that we weren't even thinking about. But then it got to the point where we were taking so long to do the simplest of puzzles, and we just get a thing over the walkie-talkie. You guys are taking a bit long. Would you like a hint? And you're just like, no spoilers, no spoilers. Fuck the spoiler. Tell her to shut up now.
Yeah. Oh no, that's the worst thing in the world when you're like, okay, these people are really struggling. Hey, would you like a hint? No, we don't want a hint. Okay, and then you just sit back on your phone while you're watching these people suffer on a CCTV camera. Oh God, it's horror. And then you just you see the couples doing escape rooms. What is wrong with you? Just like break up. What are you doing? Don't make my life misery just because your lives are miserable. Like the ones who work together are great, and it's like, oh, escape rooms are our thing. That's great, wonderful. But the ones that walk in and they don't know how to communicate and they think the same, go fuck yourselves. Hate you. Yeah.
This is
therapy for me. This is great.
It's like the people that like their relationship is suffering, so they decide to have a baby, thinking that the baby is going to solve everything, but then the baby just makes everything worse.
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah, we're struggling, so let's put in a huge stress factor.
Yeah, and you're a father.
Yeah,
so you know how easy babies can be.
Sure, they're a walk in the park.
They're so. I think Dana Carvey had a joke. They're so easy. You just put them in your pocket and you take them everywhere.
Jesus.
But speaking of personalities, though, you have, that was the most inappropriate transition to this.
Speaking of things,
So borderline personality disorder is something that you've talked about. Could you, before we get into it, could you explain maybe what borderline personality disorder is?
Okay, so for me, of what my understanding, because obviously there's different understandings of it, but for my understanding, I sort of found this out when I was dealing with a complete misunderstanding of who I was, essentially, and I was constantly feeling like I was this person while I wasn't. I had been sort of convinced into this kind of person. I now realize that all I had to do was just lessen the anxiety, understand who I am, and be aware of it. But the problem I had was I was constantly thinking I was this terrible bad guy, and constantly feeling, well, this is my personality and this is who I am and this is going to be, and then it was completely shifted versus going through COVID, because being divided from other people, I haven't been forced into being that person. I haven't been made into this kind of feeling of. So I have a more limited understanding of it, just because I've been able to deal with it. It was never huge in my life, but it was took over quite a part of my life at one point, because I was losing my mind daily, and suicidal thoughts, constant feeling utterly worthless, and feeling like I could not carry on and that death was the only way out. That was my daily existence. And then over time, it's lessened and lessened just by taking medication and taking antidepressants, sertraline. But essentially, it's helped that. But obviously, from time to time, it's still there. The insecurities are still so fucking massive, and you. I think because for so many people, it's very difficult to diagnose, and it's just brushed aside. You just complain too much. It's like that's the sort of mentality I grew up with, and I come from the countryside of Scotland. Like Honestly, it's whiter than Iceland. There is no Mauricio. There's it's and there's and one of the biggest.
I think I'm going to leave that comment to the people that know Mauricio. I'm not. Let's not expand on that.
Just leave it. But for me, it was their attitudes of mental health that just destroys people in that region, because when you are pushed aside and made to feel like you're not good enough, that won't disappear. That will just constantly be there as a reminder every time you go to the pub, every time you go to work, every time you walk down the street. People will remind you of who you are, because that's what countryside people do. They gossip and they remind you at all times, these are the things you've done in your past, and this is who you are. And it just does not allow any moment to actually change. So when I go back home, that I can only be there for a certain amount of time. I'm not there just now because I don't think I could have done a lockdown with my family. I love them dearly, really, really dearly, but we're different. We just have the everyday just doesn't fit, essentially. And my dad is the loveliest man in the world. I think you've both met him. Genuinely lovely man. But he's stuck in his ways as well, because he's from an entirely different generation, and he very much did what I did. He was feeling a bit dejected and rejected. He took himself out of the friendship groups so that he wasn't depressing around them. He's a very caring man, but the problem is he just never really integrated himself back into society and around people. So he, when COVID struck and lockdown sort of played in, we both turned around to each other and went like, all right, so business as usual, I guess. And that was kind of a sad thing. So I think when things get back to normality, I think we're both going to push ourselves and challenge ourselves to get out of our heads a little bit more and get ourselves out there. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on what I've gone through. So yeah.
But I think that's a pretty big thing that we might get from this COVID lockdown thing, is that people really are forced to get to know themselves.
Oh yeah,
and to face themselves because of all the isolation. And I look forward to see what that has to offer.
I like how you started that off like as a statement and then ended it as an email. You're like, and I look very much forward to. I look very much forward to hearing back from you, COVID, but let's have a bit of a break first. No, but I actually, it's a very good point though. I agree. I do look forward to that as well. But you mentioned that your dad has gone through similar things, and it made me think about the fact that like a lot of us that have stuff. I mean, we get so terrified about the idea of having children. Because of the idea. I mean, because if
what
you look
are we going to pass on?
Exactly. And I mean, it is very, very common to pass these things on.
Absolutely.
And, but you know what? I was just realizing and I've thought about this before, but it's the thought of like, what's interesting about it is that I think what's special about when you have a parent that has the same thing that you do, or they've gone through a similar thing, they can actually help you, and they know what you're going through. Wow. And like, like Stefnir, we've talked about like the fact that there's a lot of people with various disorders and syndromes that are so highly intelligent, so important to the world, but they don't, but then you've got people that are just trying to, get rid of that disorder or syndrome when really all they needed was support.
Yeah.
To realize that you can actually live with this. You just have to learn how, and you need the people backing you up to tell you, hey, I've been through this, and hey, here are some great things that worked for me. Maybe you can use those to develop something that, like a variant that works for you.
Yeah, and give people a space to actually work on what they're dealing with, because we used to, especially people of my father's generation and my mother's generation, there's a bit of a generation gap, 24 years between them.
Yeah.
But you know what it is. Yeah. But they used to bottle everything up, and they used to just sort of power through. Yeah. Either they powered through, or they succumbed to alcoholism, or you know, they sort of died early because they worked themselves to the ground, or, you know. So what we have now is way more opportunities to deal with what we have, and that way we can help our kids that might, you know, inherit what we have. I have a son who's 23, and he's also dealing with bipolar disorder, and because I've done so much work on sort of getting better and coping with it and dealing with it and living with it. I'm also bipolar, by the way. Yeah. If you didn't catch that. But
if you didn't get that from the escape room story.
Exactly. But yeah, my way of helping him now is just to sort of point out the pitfalls that I had and point out solutions that helped me. Absolutely. And yeah. It's working. The kid calls me like every 2 or 3 days to just go, Dad, I got really mad today and I didn't know what to do. So I just sort of went home, and I tell him, you know, yeah, that was a great thing to do when you don't know what to do, sort of to just take yourself out of the situation. So we have so many talks about this stuff, and I didn't have any of these talks with my dad.
Yeah.
So
I love when like our generation's parents are like, your generation just talks about too much stuff. You're too open about things. And I'm just sitting back going, you guys didn't talk about this? Like you guys weren't open about this? How are you alive?
Yeah.
It's a kind of like, so my dad, who is he is 66, so he is he was born in 1954, and that is a long time ago, and it's very much a sort of obviously the baby boomers, the sort of cusping generation, going from the old school medieval way of parenting, and he very much as a father was open, hugging, very. If you were sad about something, he would listen. Sometimes he wouldn't understand, but he didn't care. He would listen and try to give you some advice or some sort of way to go forward. But one of the biggest things that like he talked about is that his dad, my grandfather, never talked about anything. He was very close. It wasn't until he died we found out that he had a child out of wedlock, and there was an entire part of the family that we had never heard of or met before in Wolverhampton. And we went, oh, okay. And then essentially as soon as my aunties and my cousins found out, they went, oh, this makes way more sense. Oh, God, like how he was with women. Oh, this makes so much, like, because he was he wasn't creepy. He was a charmer. He was a genuinely interesting guy. But the problem is he just didn't know how to keep it in his pants. So there was but like he was all like, when I met him, he was in his 80s. So I just thought he was just a nice, friendly dude. But I did notice when he was in his care home, he was surrounded by women. And I was just, and he wasn't wanting it. He was just sitting there going, fucking Jesus Christ. It's off, Mabel. And it's like, she's like, oh, I think I can get one more shag out of him. I think I can. But it's just, each generation will change. And like, I think the next generation is going to have a complete, like every generation gets more intelligent because of the fact that they just have more to view from. They have more of a definition of like, well, this is this kind of person, this is this kind of person, but we don't have to judge either or. And I think you have to go through a whole we're at a really weird point where some older people, people my dad's age, will say shit to me that I'll go, what the fuck is wrong with you? And then they'll say, oh, well, it's my age. And I was like, have you not seen my dad? He's not a cunt like you are. Like, can you not see the difference?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, speaking of Mabel and intelligence, we are down to the end of the interview. I was trying to figure out another like kind of awkward transition there, but no,
it was a beautiful segue.
Yeah.
No, it was gorgeous. It was fucking seamless, my friend.
But before we go, first of all, Andrew, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
No problem. It's just nice to talk to people.
Yeah. And, greatest reaction ever. It's just nice to talk to people. Yeah. But and Stefnir, thank you so much for being on the coast.
Man. Anytime.
And before we go, first of all, Andrew, where can people find out more information about you and all the amazing work that you're doing for the community?
I mean, you could probably find me on Facebook. I mean, if you want, but like, you know, I've taken a lot of the YouTube stuff down because I'm just like, fuck this shit. If you want to see Linda and you haven't seen Linda yet, you can look up Linda Andrew Sim Comedy on YouTube and you can see a clip there. Other than that, don't follow me. I don't like it. I honestly don't. It's creepy, and I like if you want to see any of my work, like keep up to date with the Reykjavik Fringe, because even though they're not able to put on proper shows this year or last year, they're still trying. They're still trying to do something, and that for me is the spirit of the true Fringe. Just keep going.
They're troopers over there.
Yeah, I won't even be doing anything for the Edinburgh Fringe because it's just fucking pointless. And like the Reykjavik Fringe is a proper tiny little fringe with loads of enthusiastic people, and that's what it should be. So support that. You know, if you want to see me, maybe, you know, but honestly, fuck all of you. I want some rest.
This is by far the greatest I've ever heard of. So, where can the listeners find out more about information about you? Just don't.
So social media is a cancer, and just get off Facebook, man, and Twitter, and actually hug your kids. Stop caring about what Americans think. Honestly, if you want your life to be better, stop looking at American news and your life will be so, like, become Polish. Not Polish. Anyway, but just don't look at the news. Like, just hug your neighbors. You know, don't hug them right now, but just show love to people and don't. Yeah. Anyway, I'm on a mission to civilize, but yeah. Anyway.
Way to plug yourself, Andrew.
I don't want to plug myself. I'm still working on myself. So,
and for listeners, if you want to find out more information about Stefnir, you have Facebook and Instagram at Stefnir Benediktsson. Yeah, the only Stefnir Benediktsson.
That's true.
So you're easy to find, and you're very welcome to people following you. Because you're not a bitter asshole about it.
No.
I'm not bitter. I'm not bitter. I'm not on Facebook anymore.
Who says I was talking about you? I could have been talking about some other bitter asshole.
Well, whatever.
Like one of the main rules about interviewing is don't insult your guest, and I just insulted my guest.
Absolutely, yeah. Fuck you, Jesus.
And if you want to find out more information about me, you can find me at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Dan Zarin Comedy. And to listeners, first of all, thank you so much for listening. If you ever have any questions or topics that you want us to discuss, send them over to us at info@mvhtshow.com. That's info@mvhtshow.com. You can find more information about the show at Facebook and Instagram.
All right, fucking.
My voice is
will this ever end?
You also have Twitter at mvhtshow. We all.
Oh god! I'm gonna start masturbating. You're gonna have to start watching that.
If you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, feel free to like and subscribe.
Dude, I'm already halfway
to the podcast. Leave us a 5-star review if you love the podcast. If you hated the podcast, just leave us a 1-star review and tell us what Andrew did wrong. I'm so glad this is the part that no one listens to. Also, If you want to support the podcast, check out paypal.me/MVHT show. That's paypal.me/MVHT show. This podcast has been brought to you by Games Studio. We're recording Secret Cellar Iceland's first and only podcast, first and only comedy club, and Smouty's Volcano Sauce. This is the greatest hot sauces I've ever had in my life.
Jesus. Well, end the fucking podcast. Like, oh my God. Like.
This podcast has also been brought to you by Andrew Sims' Personality. We're not sure where it is at the moment, but it'll be there at some point. Other than that, thank you so much for listening, and check out new episodes every Tuesday.